very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at Marcus Garvey Park, here in Harlem, New York, for the kickoff of this year's 2023 Charlie Parker Jazz Festival. What better way to celebrate jazz music is one of the legends and one of the progenitors of Bebop, the great Charlie Parker. Tonight here on the Pace Report, you're going to witness saxophonist T.K. Blue performing an all-Latin tribute to the great Charlie Parker. In fact, he recorded an album back in 2010, which was the 90th anniversary of Charlie Parker. Tonight here on the Pace Report, I had a chance to sit down and talk with TK about the legacy of Charlie Parker, what he brought to jazz music and black culture, as well as we sit down and reflect on some very important, iconic jazz musicians that mentored as well as grew the great T.K. Blue. And I'm talking about the great Yusuf Lateef and Rahsaan Roland Kirk and the great Sam Rivers. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the official kickoff of the 2023 Charlie Parker Jazz Festival, presented by Jazzmobile. Here live at Marcus Garvey Park, here in Harlem, New York, here on the Pace Report. You know what better way to kick off the Charlie Parker Jazz Festival here in Harlem is we're going back to a period of work that you recorded, a revisioning of Charlie Parker's work, and you're performing it tonight.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a record that I did in 2010. It was for the 90th birthday celebration for Charlie Parker, and it was a record called Latin Bird. You know, I really loved all the work that Bird did with those records he did called South of the Border. And he recorded with a lot of Hispanic and great, incredible Afro-Cuban musicians. And I really loved that music and that sound. So I wanted to capture that sound, not necessarily play the same tunes, but play some of his repertoire in that type of vernacular, the Afro-Cuban vernacular. And so that's what the record was about. And luckily tonight we have the same folks who were on the record are gonna be here tonight.
You know, I remember when the record came out, and it's always good to visit our elders. It's always good to have an interpretation and historical prefaces, but your background, your father and your mother, they're from the islands too, so this kind of added a whole other flavor to this.
Exactly, yeah. Well, Dad is from Jamaica and Mom's from Trinidad.
Wow.
And growing up, you know, they had the calypso, they had all that type of music in the house, as well as, you know, Mom had some Louis Armstrong records, Horace Silver, and I grew up listening to R&B, you know, Motown, Stevie Wonder, Supremes, Four Tops, Michael Jackson. That was you know, James Brown. But in high school, you know, we started branching out, and my musical taste started expanding. And I remember first, you know, I went actually in reverse. I got into Pharoah Sanders even before Coltrane. Creator has a master plan. That was a mantra for us in high school. But in college, serendipity played a part, because in college, my next door roommate at the dorm, a guy named David Anthony, he was a Coltrane fanatic, and he had all the Coltrane's records. So I got influenced by Coltrane. I got me a soprano sax. But it wasn't until I went to Jazzmobile, and I can't emphasize Jazzmobile enough, because they're producing my show tonight. Robin Bell Stevens, Jazzmobile. I was a student there in the 70s, where I studied with Jimmy Heath, Frank Foster, Ernie Wilkins, Chris Woods. The list is endless. Barry Harris would come by, and sometimes Dr. Billy Taylor would come by. It was just a who's who. Benny Powell taught there, Jimmy Owens, I studied with Jimmy Owens. You name it. Freddie Waits was teaching drums. Ted Dunbar was teaching guitar. It was all the heavyweights. And Jimmy's the one who really got me into knowing about Charlie Parker and studying his music. And actually, he got me to get an alto saxophone. So I'm really indebted to Jazzmobile, and we've come full circle, because now I've been doing a lot of performances under that banner, and I'm so proud and privileged to be associated with such a great organization.
You know, there are a couple of recordings that people really associate and really know about Charlie Parker. There's the Live at Massey Hall in Toronto, which is a serious backstory behind that. There was a major fight going on that night.
I remember. Well, I wasn't there, but I remember the history, yeah.
And the other recording is the Strings record that Norman Granz produced in 1949. And there was a technical prowess that he had that no other musician had. What was very different about him as opposed to a lot of his contemporaries?
Well, Charlie Parker changed the whole course of jazz history. His phrasing, choice of notes, rhythm, the harmony that he interjected, it changed. It was completely different from what had been going from the swing era. You know, he came out of the swing era, but he completely changed the way you approach improvisation, which actually is called spontaneous composition. I prefer that because, you know, he's not just making things up as it goes along. He's actually composing spontaneously, but he changed the whole way it's done. And then also he had a deep feeling in his music, in his playing. When he played the blues, you felt his spirit. You felt the spirit of the blues. It's like he had a saying if whatever you live comes out of your horn. If you don't live it, it won't come out of your horn. So he more than anyone, I think, really was able to disseminate his soul, his spirit, his essence through his horn into his music, and it was captivating. It was so different. Everybody I've spoken to, I had a chance to hang out with Max Roach. I had a chance to speak with Dizzy, Jimmy Heath, of course. Everybody who knew Charlie Parker, and Jackie McLean, I had a chance to speak with him, mentioned that he changed the game plan. They didn't even want to sleep because they were afraid they would miss something. They would go home and sleep for a couple hours, and then, because, you know, back then they would do the gigs, 3 sets, and then they go to Mittens and play, you know, a couple of sets, and they play all to the wee hours of the morning, and then talk and hang out amongst each other, talking about the music, and the next day go back and do it again. It was just captivating. So even today, Charlie Parker's influence is felt. And I'll tell you, tonight for our show, for Latin Bird, I'm very honored to say that we're going to play only Charlie Parker compositions. Everything we play is going to be written by Charlie Parker.
That's a better way. That's the best way to start this whole festival off and kick it off.
Exactly.
You know, TK, I have a couple of questions I want to ask you. I did some deep research on you. And you studied at Jazz Interactions in New York with Rahsaan Roland Kirk and Yusuf Lateef and Joe Newman. I have a big thing in my heart for Yusuf and Rahsaan. What was it about those two musicians that eternalized the different form of how you played the instrument?
Well, both Yusuf was actually Rahsaan's sub. See, Rahsaan was the main teacher that I was studying with, and when he'd go on the road, you know, he would get Yusuf to sub for him. So both of them, the thing that I remember specifically about both of them were, one is your sound, to really work on your sound, to get a great sound on your instrument, and also to sing through your instrument. Not just play scales or play exercises, but to really play melodic and to try to sing through your horn, to play things that a singer would sing, you know, make it really sound melodic. And commitment. They both were very committed musicians. So, you know, they would tell you, look, you know, I know you guys are young and your hormones are jumping, but when the girl calls you up to say, hey, let's hang out, tell her, you know, tomorrow, because you got to practice. So be committed to your art form and make that sacrifice, you know.
What do you think about Yusef now as a saxophonist as well as a flautist? Because he was
ultimate. Yusef, you know, and then I have a lot of his books. You know, Yusef is just incredible musician, incredible. In fact, Jimmy Heath told me a story once at a jam session, I think maybe in the 50s, with Sonny Rollins and Yusef. And Sonny called something really up tempo, and you know, he got the better of Yusef at that tempo. But the next tune, Yusef called the blues, like in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then man, Yusef played the blues like nobody could play the blues. Had that big fat sound. So he's just an iconic figure, you know. Both of those gentlemen, I can't say enough. Rahsaan did things that are just, for me, unimaginable. Playing 3 instruments at once and playing them very, very melodically. Playing one time, I heard him play at the Vanguard a recorder and a nose flute simultaneously. All kind of stuff that he would do. It was mind-boggling. So I'm just blessed.
He was a special soul. I mean,
no doubt. You know.
You know, Sam Rivers, in my opinion, there's some cats that have created some very unique music and unique sounds, or they heard music differently and played it harmonically different. And Sam Rivers is a guy that you had an honor of playing with. What was it like playing with him?
Oh man, well Sam, you know, let me just say this. When I met Sam, I was living on the Bowery. I had a loft, not far from Houston Street. And Sam, a couple of blocks away, he had a loft called Studio Rivby. And there he used to give concerts and theatrical performances. In fact, I played music with a band, and we played for a play called Ode to Charlie Parker, which was about Charlie Parker, and it was written by Edgar White, a great playwright from the Caribbean. Sam is just an iconic figure. A lot of people don't know that Sam was actually a concert pianist, and I'm talking about of the highest caliber.
Really?
He could play Ravel, Debussy, Bach, all of that. And I heard him play that because when I recorded with him in Milan, Italy, we did a tour in 1982 with the Winds of Manhattan, 11 saxophones, no rhythm section. We toured all over Europe, and we did a record. And during the record date, we took a break and the cats went out to eat. I stayed in the studio and laid down. I was tired, and I hear this piano, and the piano was Sam playing incredible classical music. And so I was blown away, and I said, Sam, man, I didn't know you played piano. He said, man, that was my first instrument, but because of the time period he grew up, blacks were not allowed to excel in that area, so he went into jazz. So, and then on the record in Paris, I moved to Paris in the 80s, I recorded with a drummer named Steve McCraven called Intertwining Spirits, this LP. And Steve Neal was on bass, Sam was on saxophone, I played saxophone, and I had the honor, Sam played piano on one of my songs, a song called Love Dance Freedom Trance. He played piano, impeccable piano. And I never forget, I wrote a song on that record day called Jack the Riffer, R-I-F-F-E-R, and it had a crazy bridge, very complicated bridge, and I gave it to Sam, and the bridge was supposed to be played in unison with alto and tenor, no rhythm section. And Sam looked at that bridge, he looked at me, he said, this was his exact word, he said, I'm gonna play the A section with you, but F-U-C-K the bridge. And that was it. He didn't play the bridge, he let me have it, you know.
That'll do it again for this very special edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at this year's 2023 Charlie Parker Jazz Festival, presented by Jazzmobile. I'd like to personally thank the incomparable TK Blue for his time. Make sure you support his album, Tribute to the Great Charlie Parker, which is available on Motema Records. For more information on TK's upcoming tour dates, visit him online at tkblue.com and follow him on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, I'd like to personally thank the staff and management here at Jazzmobile and Summerstage for their warm hospitality. I can't stress this more than enough, people. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube and Vimeo, as well as leave comments. Also, you can follow me on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Reporting from Marcus Garvey Park here in Harlem, from this year's 2023 Charlie Parker Jazz Festival. This is Pace Brian Pace. If it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.